After a conversation with Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk yesterday, I continue to think there is something the national media is missing about Brock Purdy. Plus, a huge player that could fall to the 49ers in the draft, and a new contender emerges for 49ers kicker. It's the debate you've all been dying to hear next on the Gold Standard Podcast. What is good, everybody? Welcome to the Gold Diggers podcast on the Gold Standard and the Fans First Sports Network. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. It is Friday. Michelle Majuk is here. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, or I should say, hey.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm so excited. Less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. We're going to talk about a player that might fall to the 49ers, which I think would be very, very good. We're going to talk about a potential Jake Moody competition and who might fill that role. But first, I want to begin with something that happened yesterday. I talked with Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk yesterday. It was about a half-hour conversation. We talked about the Brock Purdy contract stuff. We talked about Jed York and how terrible he is. I highly recommend everybody go and check it out. It's on the YouTube channel. It's available as an audio podcast. Not now.
This is our time.
Right. But in the conversation with Florio, a couple of things just kind of stood out to me. And I've said it, and you've said it too, to be fair to you. If Brock Purdy was a first-round pick instead of a seventh-round pick, nobody would question whether or not he should get a new deal from the 49ers. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, he would already have one. He'd already have one done.
I agree. Florio did not agree. In fact, Mike said he thinks Brock Purdy is probably somewhere around the 15th best quarterback in the entire NFL. That stunned me, Michelle.
Did he name the 14 ahead of him?
He didn't name the 14, no.
Okay, well, you should have had him name the 14 because I think you would have had a very hard time doing that and actually backing up his take.
The thing that I am annoyed by when it comes to Brock Purdy is that we're moving the goalposts. We are not treating Brock Purdy the way we have treated every other quarterback in the way we treat every other quarterback. And that bugs me. If you just want to say, hey, he's not good enough, whatever, it's Shanahan, it's the scheme, it's the weapons, whatever, but treat every other quarterback like that. And we don't, Michelle. If you're watching the stream right now, you've got the highest paid quarterbacks on the screen, right? What do we say about Brock Purdy? Well, without the weapons around him, he's not very good. Well, look at number 3 on that list, Joe Burrow, who's very good, by the way. But you can't get better weapons than Joe Burrow has in Cincinnati, right? And he didn't even make the playoffs last year. So that just seems really weird to me that's one thing that applies to Brock Purdy, doesn't apply to Joe Burrow. I think that's really weird. I also think it's really weird, by the way, that Patrick Mahomes isn't on this list, but that's a whole other separate discussion. Jalen Hurts. Does Jalen Hurts have great weapons around him? Yup. He's got arguably the best friggin' offense in the league, right? A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They added Saquon Barkley, really good tight end in Dallas Goedert, best offensive line in the league. Nope, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. Jared Goff, does he have good weapons around him? Yup. Does he have a good play caller? Yup. Doesn't matter. Everyone's totally fine with Jared Goff getting that extension. It's really weird to me that with Brock, all this stuff matters. With the other guys, it doesn't matter.
It's because of where he was. That's the only thing that makes sense, especially when you're looking at Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love. Like, they got paid so easily by their organizations, and it was because they invested with Trevor Lawrence, the number 1 overall pick, and then with Jordan Love, they invested that first-round pick and all these years with him behind Aaron Rodgers. And when they were due to get paid, they just instantly got paid, even though they showed nothing to deserve it. Like, if I was those organizations, I wouldn't have wanted to pay either Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Jordan Love did have that great second half of the year, so I get the temptation there. But Brock Purdy has shown way more than many guys on this list that you have up right now in the top 10. I'm sorry, he's shown more than Dak Prescott already. He's shown way more than Trevor Lawrence, way more than Jordan Love, way more than Tua Tagovailoa. I think just as much as Jared Goff, if not more. Justin Herbert, yes, he has a way better skill set, I guess, overall than Brock Purdy. But again, Herbert can't win in the playoffs like Brock Purdy can. And then Lamar and Jalen Hurts have shown more. But Yeah, he belongs on this list.
I don't understand why we keep doing that. And I think part of it is, because they were 6-11 last year. And look, I get that, but I think that people automatically assume because they were 6-11 last year that Brock was terrible, right? That he was horrible. He wasn't. Now, he didn't have as good a year as he was in 2023. No question about that. I'm not disputing that. But he wasn't horrible last year. He was 10th in the league in passing yards. So, Jed York said he was top 10, and people say, oh, he's not top 10. He literally was 10th in the NFL in passing yards and missed 2 games, by the way. So he was 10th in passing yards. He was 15th in touchdown passes. That admittedly not great. Like that, they were not as good in the red zone last year, and that was impacted by the touchdown passes for sure. And he takes part of that blame. He was 11th in total touchdowns, tied for 11th in total touchdowns for a quarterback. Like he was 7th in QBR in the whole league. Better QBR than Mahomes, better QBR than Jalen Hurts, than Justin Herbert, Matt Stafford. Like people think that he was awful last year, and he just wasn't.
And that's without any weapons. Like he didn't have his weapons. He didn't have his best left tackle. He didn't have his star running back. He didn't have his running or wide receiver 1. Like all of a sudden, he went from being loaded to having Juwan Jennings as your wide receiver 1. But no one gives him any credit for that. And he still was putting up a lot of big games. Now there was 2 clunkers in there in the bad weather games against the Rams and the Bills, but outside of that, his numbers were really, really good. So I don't understand the hate. We got a YouTube comment from Astro that says, but Hurts got it done in the end, though. Are we forgetting the Super Bowl where he lost to Patrick Mahomes in a close game where he didn't get it done at the end? And guess what? Hurts got paid after that. He got paid before he won a Super Bowl. And I don't think the Eagles regret paying him just because it was a close Super Bowl that they lost with Jalen Hurts. I think Hurts showed them he can win a Super Bowl for them. They can win a Super Bowl with him because they were so close. And I think Brock Purdy has shown the 49ers can win a Super Bowl with him because they've now gotten close twice with him. They went into overtime once with him in a Super Bowl against the best quarterback in the league. So I don't think it's fair to say, well, Hurts got it done and Purdy hasn't, because when Hurts got paid, he had not got it done yet. I think you might be on mute.
The other part of this, sorry about that. The other part of this that people say, well, without the weapons, look, he didn't get it done. It's like, well, when has Joe Burrow ever gotten it done without the weapons? He got paid. When has Jared Goff ever gotten it done without the weapons? He got paid. When has Jalen Hurts ever gotten it done without the weapons? He got paid. It's just a really weird thing with Brock. And I think
Mahomes' numbers have been way lower without his weapons. Like, yeah, when he first started, his numbers were out of this world with a prime Travis Kelce and with Tyreek Hill out there. They took away his weapons and his numbers have been not like, you could still watch him and see how much he brings to the table and how important he is, but his numbers are not any better than Brock Purdy's most of the time.
Yeah, and now Mahomes in the clutch is unbelievable. But the point is, yeah, you're not going to be as good without weapons. That's any quarterback. It's not just Brock Purdy. But what I think it is he's hurt by a couple of things. The draft, number one, because people don't want to believe he's that good because he was the last pick in the draft. And number two, the Jimmy Garoppolo factor. Jimmy Garoppolo played in San Francisco way better than he played. And he's not even a starting quarterback anymore. Like, he can't even start. He's awful. And so people say, well, Kyle made Jimmy look good. He must be making Brock look good. And it's all Kyle Shanahan. And so those two things just say he's not good. And any good that he does gets wiped away by scheme or weapons or any of that. But any of the bad stuff that he does is all him. It's never Kyle's fault. It's never anybody else around him's fault.
Yes. And I've already discussed now the differences between Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy. Garoppolo was a yard after catch machine, right? That's where he got all of his production. That's not the case with Purdy. He actually has a pretty deep air yards per target, and the yards after catch aren't even close to the same with Purdy compared to Jimmy Garoppolo. 58% of Jimmy Garoppolo's yards with the 49ers came after the catch. Only 47% for Purdy. Like, Purdy's middle of the league in that area. Purdy's also way better in tight or neutral pass attempts. He's way better versus the blitz. He's way, way better in downfield pass attempts, 10 plus air yards. Like, these two players are not the same. yes, they put up similar, like, I guess, passer ratings, even though Purdy's is way better still. Like, but yes, Jimmy Garoppolo's passer rating with the 49ers was much better than when he left the team or wherever else he was before that with the Patriots. But it's just not, they don't get it done the same whatsoever. Their processing is completely different, and their skills when under pressure and in tough situations are completely different.
So it's just very, very frustrating to me because I just want everybody to be judged the same. If guys get dinged because they have weapons, then ding everybody. Ding Joe Burrow, ding Tua Tagovailoa, ding everybody. If they get dinged because Kyle, you have a really good play caller, then ding every quarterback Sean McVay's ever had, ding Sam Darnold with Kevin O'Connell, Patrick Mahomes with Andy Reid. Like, somehow Kyle Shanahan is the only coach that ever, sets his quarterback up to succeed or does good things with his quarterback. None of the other guys, even though they all spend all week trying to come up with game plans to make their quarterback look good, it's only Kyle Shanahan that does. Nobody else. Again, judge them the same.
And they don't, because Brock Purdy drafted in the 7th round. No one thought he had a shot. No, the scouts weren't out there banging the table for Brock Purdy, and they can't be wrong, right? These media people as well, they can't be wrong that they were overlooking Brock Purdy. So it has to be Kyle Shanahan. It has to be the weapons. It can't possibly be Purdy.
Right, because otherwise we'd be wrong, and that would never happen. By the way, Joe, watching on YouTube, says, you two are the best. Just stopping in to hang for a few on my lunch break. Stats, keep repping Connecticut Niner fans. Michelle, keep being awesome. Love you guys. Pay Purdy. That was very nice, Joe. Thank you. B Mills 1987 says, 3 drink Michelle. Best show on the network. Do we got our 3 today?
No, I only have my energy drink and my water.
Boo. Boy, you're really half-assing it today, Michelle.
I know. I got a long day.
Paul Hope says, hey, Rob and Michelle. Shout out to you, Paul, overseas for 49ers UK. Love it. Okay, so that just annoyed the heck out of me with the Brock Purdy thing. And I respect Mike Florio. Obviously, I worked with him for 7 years. We just disagree on this. And I just think that people have decided that Brock can't be good. And so they just wait for anything bad to happen. And then they say, see, and they ignore all the stuff that might conflict with that opinion. And look, I said that I would be okay with the 49ers trading Brock Purdy, and I stand by that. But they have seemingly decided that they are going to pay him. So then just do it already and stop complaining that it's going to be too expensive. You have decided to pay it. So then you have to pay what it costs.
I mean, it's just so wild that the quarterback who leads the league in pass yards per attempt and passer rating since entering the league in 2022, the guy who has 4 postseason wins, the guy who has made a Super Bowl and made it to overtime in Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes, and then also made an NFC championship 2 years in a row, correct? Yes.
He made it in 2022. He made it in 2023.
Yeah. Is being told that he doesn't deserve to get paid. It makes absolutely no sense. His 105 passer rating over his first 3 seasons in the NFL is the 2nd highest in NFL history, behind only Patrick Mahomes. The top 4, Mahomes, Purdy, Kurt Warner, Lamar Jackson. Like, the numbers really don't lie this hard, right? Maybe he's not up there with that group, but he still is well deserving of getting paid his $55 million a year.
So I hope that some people realize this. I don't know what it will take for Brock Purdy to overcome those opinions in the national media. Like, even at the beginning of last year, he was balling out in the early part of the season. Now, I think his play fell off as the year went on, but the first 4 or 5 games, he was kicking ass. He was throwing the ball deep down the field. He wasn't getting any yak, and he was producing, and they were moving the ball. Like I said at the time, that I thought he was playing at the highest level of anyone in the league at that time. Not that he was the best quarterback in the NFL, but the way he was playing the game on difficult mode with fewer weapons. He was throwing further down the field. He was throwing in tighter windows, and he was succeeding. And even when he was doing that, he really didn't get the credit from the national media, except for Mina Kimes. I actually thought she did give him a little bit of love. But other than that, nobody said anything. So it's like, no matter what he does, I don't know that he'll ever be able to overcome it.
He won't, because even without the weapons last year and with dealing with some injuries and all the mess of last year, he still averaged 8.5 yards per attempt, 3rd in the league, 3rd among quarterbacks. He didn't have his weapons. He didn't have a good offensive line. Kyle Shanahan was not in his bag, a great play caller, right? He wasn't. And it was not yards after the catch last year because the players just didn't really exist to get too much of those, right? Still averaged the third most yards per attempt in the league, but somehow it was a terrible year.
Right. He was so bad because they went 6-11. Forget the fact that his defense was garbage. Forget the fact that his kicker was garbage. Forget the fact that the special teams unit did everything they could to lose games every single week. It just, again, I just want everybody to be treated the same. I hate hypocrisy. It sticks in my craw. And I just had to get that off my chest. Perfect Blackness Sr. says the national media will never allow Brock to live down Mr. Irrelevant. Plus, he took the job from number 3 overall. For the media, this is just too much to swallow. Only multiple Super Bowls will shut them up. But even if he won the Super Bowl, what does everybody say? Well, Juwan Jennings was going to be the Super Bowl MVP. And he may have because he had a tremendous game, but people would have used that against him. Oh, yeah, he won the Super Bowl, but Juwan Jennings was the MVP. It wasn't him. Juwan Jennings threw a touchdown pass. It wasn't him. So, like, even if he had won, I still don't know if he'd be getting the flowers.
I do think if he won, the fan base would be more on board to pay him, like a bigger chunk of it. And it is so silly to just say, one different play in the Super Bowl and all of a sudden you don't change anything about last year and people would be on board. Or if you just changed his draft capital to first round, like people would be on board. Again, not changing anything about his career. It's just the case how it is. And really, the only thing for Brock Purdy that matters is that the 49ers believe in him. And we got to see if they do.
You would think that they would, but who the hell knows? Anyway, had to get that off my chest. Again, go check out the Florio interview. It was really good. He also kind of broke down the contract situation in an interesting way. And there's one little metric that you can go by that it's actually easier to, in this contract with Brock Purdy, which is new money average, because he makes so little money now, it's easier to get to a high new money average in the new contract, which is what a lot of agents and people care about. So that could help the 49ers. But anyway, please go and check that out. All right, let's move on to topic number 2 for today. As we kind of wait for the draft and there's no real 49ers news, we got sort of latitude to talk about whatever we want. So I happened to text Michelle early this morning and I said, hey, what do you want to talk about today? And you mentioned to me that there's a player in the draft that you could see a path where this guy falls to the 49ers and the Niners reap the benefit of that. Who is the player?
It's Will Campbell, offensive tackle. And let's get into this. So the reason why we all want defensive line, right? But I don't want them to force it. And at 11, if a few defensive linemen go off the board in the top 10, I do think then they'd be forcing it just to force it instead of taking the best player available. And with Will Campbell, he did play only left tackle at LSU, but 3 years of starting experience at LSU. Never missed a game due to injury, which we love to hear because we're so sick of injuries with the 49ers. And he also only allowed 1 sack over his last 30 starts with LSU. He's just fantastic. He also is very athletic, ran a sub-5 40-yard dash at 6'6", 319 pounds. Woo! Now, one thing going against him is a little bit of short arms, but I think this is maybe perfect for him to fall just a little bit. So it's under 33-inch arm length, which is kind of the threshold there that people want for their left tackles or right tackles. But it's 32 and 5/8 inch. So it's right below that. However, I do think if the 49ers got Will Campbell in the draft at 11th overall, he could start in the NFL playing left guard next to Trent Williams. And then he takes over left tackle once Trent Williams retires. But that would be huge for the 49ers this year to fill that left guard spot with an elite prospect. All of a sudden, you're feeling really good about that left side of the line. Hopefully, Campbell and Pooney could help Jake Brendel not be so bad, right? And then you're feeling much better. But the reason why I think Will Campbell can fall there is that you look at all these options that could go top 10. And you could have 2 quarterbacks in Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders go off. You could have, Travis Hunter is going to go top 10. Abdul Carter is going to go top 10. Ashton Jetty is going to go top 10. Mason Graham, very unlikely he falls out of that. That's already 6. Now, some other options, Tyler Warren, Jalen Walker, the edge out of Georgia, could go. Tedoroa McMillan is the top wide receiver if Travis Hunter is not counted as a wide receiver. He's very much a strong possibility to go. That's 9 guys right there. We just need a 10th guy. That could be the top corner off the board outside of Travis Hunter and Will Johnson or Jahdae Barron. That could be an edge rusher and Shamar Stewart if someone's in love with his athleticism. That could be a different tackle. Like maybe Will Campbell's not the number 1 tackle on someone's board because of the arm length concerns maybe. And they go with Armand Membu or Calvin Banks Jr. Like there is I do think a realistic possibility that Will Campbell could drop to 11.
And you mentioned the arm length thing and how that's sort of the knock on him. I loved his answer when he was asked about the arm length. I'll play it for you.
You as a prospect?
For 2 years, nobody had any measurements on me, and nobody said anything about my play. So now all of a sudden, an arm length decides if I'm a good player or not. I think it's BS. But, any decision makers in the NFL, they don't really care. It's all, people who don't coach, and they don't coach for a reason.
Bam. I love that. Like, dude, he's right. If no one measured my arms, nobody cared. Now all of a sudden you found out they're short. It doesn't change how he played on the field. I like that answer. I like the personality. I like the attitude.
Yeah, me too. And now I'm not saying I expect him to fall to 11. There's a lot of prospects that are top 10 or that have the possibility to go top 10. And that's all the 49ers need. Now, maybe they even move up a couple spots for Will Campbell. I don't know if I would want them to do that for an offensive lineman because of how many needs they have. And they really need to fill up that defensive line. But I do think if you're sitting there and 4 defensive lineman prospects go off the board and you have the top offensive tackle prospect, who's a really good prospect, by the way, it's not just like, well, this class is bad, so that's why, he's number 1 and he's still there. Like that would be a steal. And I think there would be no question Will Campbell's the pick.
Tennessee at 1 is going Cam Ward. Cleveland at number 2 is probably, I think they're going to go Travis Hunter. I don't think they're going to go Shedeur Sanders. I think Hunter's going to go number 2. Who's the edge? Why am I suddenly?
Abdul Carter.
He just tweeted out a picture of Lawrence Taylor and said, "Once a giant, always a giant."
Okay.
If he goes 3, a lot of people have Campbell to the Patriots at 4. That seems to be the first kind of likely landing spot for him. But they need everything in New England. They need receivers. They need everything. So I don't know that you could just necessarily lock in an offensive lineman for the Patriots at 4.
No, I think if Travis Hunter is sitting there at number 4, I feel like that makes too much sense for them. And again, the Patriots are the biggest worry here that they could go tackle for sure. But at the same time, maybe they like one of the other top tackle prospects better.
Right. Armand Membu is a possibility, like you said, that you mentioned. Genty, they're going to need Genty to go in this top 10.
Genty's going top 10. He's either going to the Raiders, and I don't think he makes it past the Bears.
See how Pete Carroll loves his running backs, right? Like I could easily see him going Genty if
he makes it to 10. I do not see how Ben Johnson does not jump at the opportunity to get his running back.
The thing with Chicago too is like they already went crazy all out offensive line in free agency. So maybe they could still go offensive line again. But those were like the core things I think Ben Johnson believes in, right? Load up your offensive line and then attack with multiple running backs. That's a pretty good spot for Genty if he goes there. The Saints are probably a quarterback team.
They're getting really heavily linked to Sanders here.
Sanders, if he's there, do they go Jackson Dart?
I don't think Dart has the possibility of top 10. I know you really want that to keep pushing down the guys, so I don't think
of course.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for other teams to do crazy things.
I definitely could see Tyler Warren, though, going to the Jets or the Jaguars even. Like, that's a possibility. Maybe even the Saints. He's getting mocked there. So I do think that's a tight end off the board. Mason Graham likely going to go. I mean, if Mason Graham and Will Campbell were sitting there at 11, which I don't really see how that's a possibility that both are, but which one would you want to go with?
Oh, man, that's a very good question. what impacts the game more? Let's just assume they're both going to be really good, a really good tackle or a really good defensive tackle. I think I got to go defense, especially with this 49ers. Say what you want. I know you can criticize the offensive line and the handling of the offensive line. They've gone to the Super Bowl with an offensive line that you would say is not, the best in the league. But when they were at their best, they had defensive linemen up front that could flat out bring it. I think I would go with Mason Graham.
I would go Mason Graham as well, especially considering that Will Campbell would have to start his career at left guard in with the 49ers, right? He's never played right tackle. I guess they could shoot him out there if he out succeeded Colton McKivitz. It would just make more sense to start him at left guard, let him stay there until Trent Williams were to retire. So at that point, you still have Trent Williams. You don't desperately need a left tackle right now. You do desperately need a defensive tackle, and Mason Graham and Will Campbell are both at the top of their position as terms prospects. So you got to go with the need there.
I will say this. I wouldn't just assume that Trent Williams is going to play this year. And I take everybody back. Remember before they got Trent Williams, John Lynch was at, hey, Joe Staley, there's some question. Is he going to come back? What's up with Joe Staley? What did John Lynch say? Oh, yep, I understand. He's ramping it up. He's practicing and he's, ready to go for this year. And then all of a sudden, bing, bang, boom, the 49ers trade for Trent Williams and the news comes out that Joe Staley is retiring. And Joe Staley told me and Levin when he came on the show that they just flat out lied about that it was a flat out lie. They told him like, hey, don't announce anything because we don't want anybody to know, what our plans are. John Lynch was asked about Trent Williams. What did he say? Oh, yep, he's training up. He's ready to go. We're looking good with Trent. Maybe he's not. Maybe Trent Williams isn't coming back this year. And all of a sudden, left tackle becomes a huge need for the 49ers. And so maybe they do prioritize it ahead of the defensive line.
Well, that would be really, really unfortunate because then they still have a huge need at left guard and then still a huge need at defense tackle and edge. Like, how did they get themselves into this situation where they were so loaded just a couple years ago and now they have so many needs? It's the couple draft classes in a row that were just so atrocious that really, really killed them. And I think this is where we're starting to see that Trey Lance trade really start to hurt them. Kyle Shanahan got away with it for a while, right? Because he hit on the Brock Purdy to get that quarterback. So it's like, okay, well, it didn't end up hurting them that bad. But I think right now we're seeing how bad that trade actually is hurting them because those draft classes were so bad. Now, they could have actually hit on any players in those draft classes, even though they didn't have first round picks or second round picks. But those first round picks, hopefully they would have been better at actually hitting on one or two players.
And the second, third, fourth, and fifth round pick they gave up for Christian McCaffrey.
Now that was worth it though.
Yes, but they still lost out on those picks, right? And so when you trade away a bunch of picks and the guys that you do pick largely stink, that's exactly how the roster erodes. Every team has years. Go pick a team. I don't care who it is. Even the Ravens, a team that's really good at drafting, the Eagles. Every team has draft years where you're looking, you're like, damn, they really didn't get much of anything out of that year. The key is, can you separate those years? Can you avoid having two or more of those years in a row? If you can sort of sustain the roster a little bit, especially if you do good work in free agency. But if you don't, and you have multiple of those years in a row, it kills you. It absolutely crushes you. And that's why the 49ers have seen the roster get so much worse this quickly. And that's why last year's class was such a big boost because they desperately needed that infusion of youth and they have to keep it going this year.
Thank goodness last year's draft class looks pretty solid, right? Because if that wasn't happening and they didn't have Renardo Green and Dominic Pooney and who am I missing here? Ricky Pearsall, obviously. And even like an Isaac Guerrero, like it would be looking in Malik Mustafa. Like we don't know if any of these guys are going to be great in the NFL, but at least they showed promise that they can grow and be good here. If they didn't have that draft class, oh my goodness, this might be one of the worst rosters, like bottom 10 roster in the NFL.
Right. And we don't know if they're going to be great, but we know they don't suck. And that's more than they've gotten out of the draft recently. Ryan Jones says Trent Williams demanded a new contract last year to retire this year. Well, number one, he had no guaranteed money, I think, left in his deal last year. So he wanted guaranteed money. And don't forget, he missed a huge chunk of the season with another ankle injury. He has had recurring ankle injuries. he may just say, you know what? Do I really want to bust my ass to come back for a team that is not nearly as good as the one I was on? Like, he sees the roster departures. He sees what they have. He sees who they signed or didn't sign in free agency. If you're Trent Williams, are you dying to come back to the 49ers this year? I would completely understand if he was like, you know what? Stuff has changed. I'm out.
Yeah, but do you think about competitive spirit and how much they love this game, most of these athletes? Like, I'm thinking about if I had to retire, like I wouldn't really care all that much. Like, obviously you want to be a team that's great, but if you're not ready to retire, you're not ready to retire, right? It doesn't really matter if maybe you don't think your team is as good as it was a couple of years ago, but your brain has to be ready to retire before you do that.
And everything Trent has said is that he wants to come back. So I understand that, like, all indications are that he's going to come back and everything is fine. I'm just saying we've seen it in the past where the 49ers have lied specifically about this position. So we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening there. But I would be happy if Will Campbell fell. I mean, let me ask you this. If Trent retires, is left tackle a bigger need than defensive line?
I mean, yeah, I guess. Who would be their left tackle?
I don't know. Like, I literally don't know. I don't even know that I want to speculate about that. They would have to find somebody.
What would be very, very frustrating is if Trent Williams decided to retire after the draft. I think that would be and he's not going to decide to retire in the next 2 weeks. I don't think that's going to happen. So I fully expect him to be here this year. Hopefully he can stay healthy, wrap up those ankles like crazy. They just put him into bubbles, basically. I don't see him actually retiring because that would just be really rude, I think, to wait after the draft and then be like, you know what, I'm retiring.
Yeah. I don't think that he would. And I think the Niners would go to him and just be like, dude, if you're going to retire, that's fine. But we have to know now because we need to plan. And maybe it comes out again. I'm just saying, would you be stunned if all of a sudden the Niners draft a left tackle at 11 and then the next day you hear that Trent Williams is retiring?
Oh, now I'm going to be worried about that. Now, if they draft Will Campbell, I'm going to be holding my breath waiting for that news.
That's fair. It's absolutely fair. So we'll see. But anyway, I liked what you were thinking there with the Will Campbell thing. So I thought we would explore it today on the show. Next topic. Another thing you texted me. And I like where your head's at, Michelle, because you don't just focus on quarterback or running back or the sexy positions. You're thinking kicker competition. Something caught your eye yesterday that caught my eye, and that is the Colts released Matt Gay, the kicker. He's going to be a free agent. The Niners have said they want to have a kicking competition, and you think that they should bring in Matt Gay to challenge Jake Moody.
I do. And now I looked into the numbers for Matt Gay, and they're not I kind of understand now why the Colts are moving on. Now, he was much better than Jake Moody last year. It had an 84 field goal percentage made, while Jake Moody's was at 70.6. And then also anything under 50 yards, he was 100%. He was 28 for 28 under 50 yards. And with Jake Moody, he was 14 for 14 under 40 yards, but then 6 for 11 from the 40 to 49, which is just not acceptable whatsoever. Yep. Now, though, when you look at the 50 plus, Matt Gay's numbers were really bad. 3 for 9. Actually even worse than Jake Moody's, which was 4 for 9. However, prior to last season, Matt Gay was much better at the 50 plus. He was 19 for 27 over the 3 years prior, 70%, which is a fair number. It's not elite, but it's plenty good enough and much better than Jake Moody's 44% last year. So I'm not saying that Matt Gay should be their starting kicker next year, but he's out there. He's available. There's not many good veterans out there that you could trust that have experience. I do think they should bring him in and be competition for Moody, unless they plan on bringing in a rookie, not with a draft pick, please, but an undrafted rookie. But Matt Gay would be good competition for Moody.
I completely agree. He's an established professional kicker. He's not going to get rattled if he misses his first kick in practice in the competition with Jake Moody. I wanted them to sign Matt Gay before he signed with the Colts, because he was out there, and I was like, please bring this guy in. Obviously, he went to Indy. He's still only 31. Not that age matters that much, but it's not like his leg is going to be losing any strength. I did look into the 50-yard kicks last year because I wanted to see. Because sometimes you see he missed a kick from 50 yards, and you're like, all right, well, what was the kick? Like, especially with the Ravens, a lot of the times it was like, oh, they attempted a 59-yarder with Justin Tucker. And technically that goes into the miss category, you know? So I looked, the 3 kicks that he made from 50 plus were 56, 54, and 52. The longest kick that he missed from 50 plus was 55. So he's got that 55, 50, you know, he's got it in him, the leg strength. It's just the accuracy that's a little shaky. But even if he did nothing but make his kicks from 40 to 49 yards, it would be such an improvement over. You can't rely on Jake Moody for those. And with Matt Gay, you clearly can.
Yes, I mean that's the key here, right? Would you love a guy that can drill 50+ yard field goals? Absolutely. Like that's the goal, right? Mm-hmm. But we know Jake Moody can't do that anyway, so it's not like you're getting worse there. You're just kind of staying the same, where you're not going to feel super confident about him in that area. But what's going to be huge is those 40 to 49s, like that are very, very makeable, that kicker should be very consistent at getting. And Jake Moody, I mean, was the worst in the league at it last year. You cannot be a 54% guy in that area. And again, Matt Gay, 7 for 7 there last year. So yeah, you're not getting a lot better super deep when they're kicking super long field goals, but you are getting so much better in the ones that you really just need to hit.
Does this video that you're seeing, if you watch on the stream, of Jake Moody bombing a 66-yard kick fill you with any reassurance?
No, I mean, there's no defense, there's no pressure, there's no anything. Jake Moody's issue is not I'm sorry, if you're making it as a kicker in the NFL, you have great leg strength and you're really, really impressive kicker. Again, when we're talking about any of these guys at any position, if you're making it this far, you're excellent. It comes down to way more than that. It comes down to the mentals. It comes down to the clutchness. It comes down to how you are under pressure. I guess like I'm saying pretty much the same thing here over and over, but that's what it is for Jake Moody.
I agree, but damn, he made that look easy, man. Whew, my God.
You don't think Matt Gay can go out there and do that?
I don't know. But like when you see that with Moody, it's like no wonder all the coaches always talk about how good he looks in practice, because he does look good. Kyle Posey told me he never misses in practice. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I never missed baskets in basketball practice either. Put me in a game and all of a sudden I can't hit anything because I get nervous.
Benali says, I just want a kicker that gets into fights with opposing cornerbacks again. Yeah, that was a good time. I think that was Robbie Gould, I believe. I can't remember who the corner was, though. Who was that? I can't remember. I forget, but yeah. And I want a kicker that, remember Robbie Gould would like kick through the cheerleaders and through like people in warmups that would just be like walking around the field, and Robbie would be like, I don't care, I'm warming up, and he would just kick it through everybody. It was fantastic.
I wasn't a 49ers fan then.
Well, it's a thing that happened. Gameplan.exe on Twitch. Shout out to the Twitch fam. Says, have we considered letting Jake Moody kick field goals in street clothes in games? Maybe that would take some of the pressure off of him.
Something has to happen with that mentals of his. I don't know.
Astro says it was Jalen Ramsey that got into it with Robbie Gould. Thank you very much. So, yeah, he would be a perfect candidate, though. Reliable, veteran guy, exactly the type of guy you want. And part of me also wonders, too, if like, because I said this with Levin, I think if they have the kicking competition and it's a tie, it's going to go to Jake Moody because they want to justify the 3rd round pick. And I almost wonder if Matt Gay is like the perfect person that they could put in there. And then they could say, see, Jake Moody won the competition because, you know, he was slightly better than Matt Gay and he's got a stronger leg or something like that. And then give it to Jake Moody anyway.
Yeah, I don't see a way that Jake Moody's not going to be their kicker to start the year. Like he's going to have to mess up again next year. He's going to have to lose them a game, unfortunately, which could be huge, especially for next year when we expect them to, you know, their ceiling maybe be 10-7, right? We can see where they can go and be 10-7. So that one game he loses them could be the difference between the playoffs or not, but they're going to wait until that happens before they actually move on from him.
That's the other part of this, right? It's not just who wins the kicking competition. Okay, Jake Moody wins the kicking competition. Then they get into the first game and boom, he blows a kick. Like, how long do you stick with him? Do you just cut him right away? So it's not even like, oh, whew, I won the kicking competition, I'm good. It's like, no, you've got like no margin for error. He's got to come out and hit like 10 in a row until he misses one. Otherwise, he's not going to feel secure, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Niners to cut him.
But under 50, you should be hitting 10 in a row. Like, you should not be missing those.
I mean, aside from like crazy weather games or bad
Crazy
snaps.
weather, bad snaps, yeah. But
Yeah.
and that's not going to be put on Moody anyways. And if you miss a 55-yarder, like, you have to hit some of them, right? But if you
Right.
miss one, you can't be blamed too much. Like, those are very, very hard to hit. But he showed last year that even the ones that the good kickers hit consistently, he was not able to do. They could not trust him.
I should point out, too, that Matt Gay also has missed 3 extra points in the last 5 years. So he locked down the extra point thing. It's crazy to me, Michelle, that we're talking about Jake Moody, right? Oh, the pressure gets to him. He's just not, he psychs himself out in games. Yet in the Super Bowl, he drills at the time the longest made field goal in the history of that game, and then comes back later under 2 minutes to go and drills like a 50-plus yarder that gives the 49ers the lead. It's like, dude, you did that in the highest pressure situations, yet you've got a 45-yard field goal in week, 13, and all of a sudden you can't, hit the ocean when you're kicking the ball.
Now, maybe it was just he came back from the ankle injury and he shouldn't have. Maybe that's it.
But like, I always say this, if you're out there on the field, then you can get judged. Like, if you're too hurt to play, no problem. You're too hurt to play. But you're telling everybody that you're good. So if you say you're good, then be good.
I'm 100% with you. He should not have came back last year. And he could have even used the excuse. Like, yeah, like once he was starting to miss them, be like, yeah, my ankle's not good enough. I need to sit out. But he kept going and kept being terrible.
Right. After one of those misses, don't you just look down and grab it and just be like, oh, I aggravated it again. And then I'll say this, like, everybody they brought in to replace him last year was making their kicks. They were, I think Anders Carlson missed like a PAT or something. I think he missed like one PAT. But other than that, like, everybody they brought in was doing great. And I wonder if Jake Moody saw that and was like, if I don't get back out there, I'm going to lose this job.
I think he would have had a better chance not losing the job if he didn't get out there.
Yeah, you're probably right, because he would say, hey, I was, what was it, 15 of 16 before the injury, whatever the number. I know he only missed one before the injury. Maybe he could have just relied on that. I don't know. All right. One more thing I want to get to before the end of the show, and that was a top 10 coaching list that I saw yesterday. And some 49ers fans got mad at me, which is, their want to do. But it was a list from Patrick Daugherty, I believe, of Roto World, and it was a head coach rankings. And I didn't think this was a controversial take, but apparently some people didn't like it. They had Andy Reid 1, Sean McVay 2, John Harbaugh 3, Kyle Shanahan 4, Nick Sirianni 5. And my take on this is, even though I don't like Nick Sirianni, I don't know in what universe you could have him behind Kyle Shanahan. Sirianni has the same number of Super Bowl appearances. He has a Super Bowl victory against the team that Kyle Shanahan could not beat in 2 tries. And his worst year as a coach is 9-8. I don't know how you put him behind Kyle Shanahan.
It's a hard one, right? Because I do think Nick Sirianni gets a bad rap, and his personality can rub people the wrong way, definitely. And it did seem like last year, 2023, like it's kind of a mess there with his coaching style. But yeah, the production definitely goes to Sirianni. And it's not like Shanahan has the most chill persona either. Mm-hmm. Or he does have a chill persona, but like the most reliable, where you feel confident that he's able to lead these men confidently. I don't know. There's something there where he has a really he rubs me the wrong way personally. So yeah, I just think Shanahan does get a lot of credit for many. He has many bad seasons on his record.
4 10-loss seasons in 8 years. Half the time, Kyle Shanahan doesn't just miss the playoffs; they stink. And like that again. And I know there's context and there's reason for all that. I get all of that. But when we're talking about head coaches, you got to judge him on wins and losses. And Sirianni, his worst year is 9-8. He's made a Super Bowl every other year. They won the Super Bowl they kicked the Chiefs' ass this year in the Super Bowl. They destroyed them. And that is a team that Kyle Shanahan has lost to twice. I just don't know how you put Shanahan above Sirianni. And I still really like Kyle Shanahan as a head coach. But I just try to be honest when I look at these things, and Niner fans did not like it, and they came for me.
Now, who is number 1?
Andy Reid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes
That's
sense.
why he's the big picture on the left. Yeah, sorry, I didn't see. It says 1 down there. I couldn't put it on the screen.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, that makes sense. John Harbaugh too gets a lot of credit for never getting his team anywhere.
Well, he did win a Super Bowl against these 49ers in 2012.
Yeah, that was a real long time ago.
And that's true. And I saw the analysis actually I thought was really interesting with John Harbaugh. And basically the point they made with John Harbaugh is like, he was really good when it was Brady, Manning, and Big Ben in the AFC. And he managed to squeak out a Super Bowl. Then he gets a quarterback and he's really good again, but you've got Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow in the AFC. And he's like, damn it. Can I just not have these other fantastic quarterbacks in my conference when my team is really good?
Yeah, it's just interesting to have John Harbaugh that much higher than Mike Tomlin, because give Mike Tomlin Lamar Jackson, I think it would be a different scenario. And give John Harbaugh Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky and Justin Fields and bad Russell Wilson. I'm sorry, like anytime he doesn't have Lamar Jackson, that team is terrible.
John Harbaugh won the Super Bowl in 2012. He has struggled in the playoffs. He has struggled. They went one and done in 2018, one and done in 2019. Now, they did win a couple of games in 2020 in the pandemic year. Then he missed the playoffs in 2021. Then he went one and done again in 2022, and he has won a playoff game in each of the last 2 years, so that is good. But just 13 and 11 in his career in the playoffs is John Harbaugh, and 4 of those wins, again, came in the year they won the Super Bowl. So since then, it hasn't been great for John Harbaugh. I do think he's a really good coach. He might be a little too high on this list, though.
Matt LaFleur not being on the list, and John, again, what does John Harbaugh do that's different? I don't know. I just think he's too high.
Matt LaFleur, they did rank everybody. He just wasn't on the graph. LaFleur is 10th on the list. Sean McDermott is 9th. Tomlin is 8th, if you're wondering, Michelle. That
seems real low.
I don't know. I'm not a Tomlin guy.
I mean, I don't think he should be top 5, but if you're going to put John Harbaugh up there, I don't get what's the difference between the two? I don't know.
Well, John Harbaugh has at least won some playoff games in the last 10 years. Mike Tomlin hasn't.
Yeah. Well,
that's the crazy. Like
he also doesn't have Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. But dude, your claim to fame can't just be that you finished at or above 500. That's not good enough.
I get it. I feel like they just have to keep playing Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen every year in the wild card.
Yeah, that's not fun. I loved this line. He has Jim Harbaugh at number 6. This is the how it starts. Harbaugh's little blurb. Last season was Jim Harbaugh's second worst as an NFL head coach. He went 11-6 and made the playoffs in the same division as Andy Reid and Sean Payton. It's like, damn, that's pretty damn good if you're Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I mean, his record's good.
You're not a Harbaugh guy. Look, you poo-pooed.
I just think 3 is real rich.
No. Jim Harbaugh is 6.
Oh, Jim.
Talking about Jim.
Yeah, I mean, he just got destroyed in the playoffs when they were highly expected to win that game. So I don't know how he's ranked ahead of Mike Tomlin either when he hasn't been in the NFL for that long. And then, last year fell apart in the wild card round, just like the Steelers do in the wild card round.
Last thing I want to ask you about before we go, since we're talking Steelers, your boy, TJ Watt, had a very cryptic Instagram post the other day, threw up the deuces in the Instagram post. Now, I know he wants a new deal with the Steelers, but what's going on there with your guy?
I don't really care, honestly. Trade him.
Whoa. Okay. No love for a guy that, has been the heart and soul.
No, I really doubt on the Steelers right now. And I just wish they would just rebuild it all. And Watt you just brought up, hasn't won a playoff game in 10 years. Watt hasn't won the Steelers a playoff game. It doesn't matter unless you have the quarterback. So, and yeah, if you want to pay him $40 million a year, because that's what he's going to want, the Myles Garrett, it seems to be a bit much, even though he's by far the best defender of the Steelers and I think the best edge rusher in the league. But if they can get a first-round pick plus for him, I think this is the time to do it because this team is not winning anytime soon. So keeping Watt and holding him and paying $40 million a year just feels like a waste.
I agree. I think the Browns should have traded Myles Garrett. Signing him to that deal to me is crazy if you're the Cleveland Browns. What are you winning anytime soon? I would have traded him to jumpstart the rebuild. I could see the same thing with the Steelers. The thing I love about TJ Watt is the thing that frustrates me about Nick Bosa is I feel like literally in the biggest moments of the game, TJ Watt is always there to make a play. And not just make a play, not just pressure the quarterback, sack the quarterback, strip the ball.
Strips fumble all the time.
Oh my God. It's unbelievable how he does it, and he does it in the biggest moments. I always respected that about him. Look, it's not going to happen.
Also, the energy he brings when he does it too, like whenever he gets a sack, like he brings so much more energy than Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa just doing this. Like I hate his celebration so much. And then TJ Watt does the kick and gets everyone in it, and he gets so excited. Like bringing that energy, I do think at the end of the day matters. Like getting the crowd into it so much and getting your teammates into it, getting everyone pumped, and frustrating the offense. I do think that's a part of it instead of just putting your hands up and doing no celebration at all.
That's who Nick Bosa is, though. He's just kind of shrug guy. It'll never happen. But my God, would I love to see TJ Watt and Nick Bosa on the same defense. Oh,
that would be absurd. Absurd.
They would complement each other so well. But alas, we'll see what happens. He's probably just, using the post to get a better deal. I'm sure the Steelers will re-sign him and everything will go back to the way it was. But anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Rate, review, and follow us, the audio podcast, anywhere and everywhere you get good audio podcasts. We really do appreciate it. Just one more reminder for everybody. Again, going on vacation next week, so there's not going to be any pods. Don't worry. I'm coming back after that, but I just need a vacation with the family. We'll rest up before the NFL draft. We'll get it going. If Brock Purdy happens to sign a contract, hopefully Michelle, you and Levin can hop on a live stream. But I don't think that's going to happen personally. So
no, I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah. But anyway, if you're wondering where the pods are, don't unsubscribe or anything like that. I promise I'll be back. Just want to remind everybody, because I know I'm going to get messages when I'm gone. What happened to the show? Are you still doing the show? Also, we're going to have a really big announcement Thursday of the draft, the actual day of the draft. It's about the future of the network and some changes that are happening. So everybody stay tuned for that. It's good news. Just want to, don't want to scare anybody. It's good news, but that is coming up as well. So enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend, and Michelle, enjoy your week free from me.
Oh, yeah. I get to not see your face for a whole week. Wow.
No bleacher, no gold standard. You're just free of me.
What a great week. What a great week.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye, y'all.